And we are live. Hello, everyone, to another Substack Live. I have with me today Derek Hughes, right? I hope I pronounced this right. Derek has a tagline, which is the irresistible writer. He went from 0 to 30,000 followers in just 2 years with zero writing experience and no clue what he was doing. Now he helps others to do the same. So, Derek, thank you so much for joining me today and for accepting my invitation to go live. I am excited to talk to you and know about your secret sauce. And hopefully, you can share some of your magic with us. So, Derek, can you tell us a bit about your background and why did you decide to Substack? And of course, the big question is, how did you do it? So the floor is yours, Derek.
So I mean, for me, it all started like in 2023. So I had like no background in writing or business. I've never worked for a business. I've only tended to work for charities and public sector like organizations. And I'd moved into a job that wasn't as challenging. And so I had a bit of space in my head to do something different. And I decided to start writing. And not really because I liked writing, but because I wanted to kind of share what I was thinking, what I was learning, because I liked reading and stuff. And so I started 2023 on Medium, because I heard about Medium from Nicholas Cole. I'd never heard of it before, but I'd found that. So I'd started writing on Medium and was just sharing whatever was in my head. I've got lots of interests and lots of experience and lots of things. I was just kind of sharing lots of different stuff. And then, so for about 4 months, maybe, like nobody was reading it or interested. And so the novelty of writing online, it was very exciting at the start because it's like you could write online, like anyone could read it. But then you quickly learn like nobody was reading it. And probably after about 3-4 months, I'd stopped. The novelty of just writing was wearing off. And then I was like, it would be really good if somebody read my stuff. How do you get people to read your stuff? And I'm really curious. I like to learn. I like to apply ideas. I like to get new skills. And so I started like just exploring that really. How do you get someone to click on your stuff? How do you get them to read it? How do you get them to comment it? How do you get people to kind of be impacted by what you're doing? And so at that point, I just started like reading and learning and experimenting. Every time I learned a new idea, I just experimented it with my writing because nobody was reading. So it didn't really matter at that point. And then gradually, I into my content, I just started sharing the things I was learning about writing alongside everything else. And I noticed that whenever I shared the stuff I was learning and applying about writing, there was a little spike in my interests. And so I just started to kind of do more and more of that. And then probably after like 6 or 7 months, I was learning about the whole niche thing and your focus. And I was like, actually, rather than writing about whatever's in my head and everything I was learning, I'm maybe just going to start sharing what I'm learning about writing. And so I started to get slightly more focused kind of June, July time of that first year. And a couple of months later on Medium, as I was at that point, there was just like a massive spike in interest and started getting thousands of followers kind of every month. And then in terms of Substack, a lot of my I started to meet friends online, and then a lot of them last year were telling me, "Oh, we're all on Substack. Substack's the place to be." And I don't like jumping around platforms. I've tried lots of different things, but I was sticking to Medium, and eventually, I was like, to shut them all up, I started writing on there Substack about 12 months ago, and probably for the first 6 months was not really focused on it particularly, and then I kind of to see how it was different and the culture. And probably the last 6 months, I've tried to think, well, what's particular about this platform and the generic writing skills I'd built, plus like creating products and all that sort of stuff. We can talk about that if you want. Started to focus that on Substack. And then, my growth of Substack has started to grow quite a lot over the last 6 months. I mean, I got about 820 followers, not subscribers last month on Substack, so it's kind of a nice growth curve that's going up and up, really. So that's like the whistle stop tour of the last kind of 2 years and how I've got to where I am. And I've worked full time most of that time. I was just doing it on a morning before work, and then gradually earned more and more money. And I was like, why am I working a job when I'm earning money writing? And so there's parts of my job I still like. So I've just gradually worked less and less hours in my main job. So I just work maybe a couple of days a week on that now. Basically, I had a conversation with my boss where I said, I like this bit, and I don't want to do that, don't want to do that. And so I got rid of the stuff I don't like, and I just do the stuff I like now in my main job. And it gives me more space for writing and helping other writers, really.
Oh wow, what a nice boss. uh,
Yeah.
all right. So you told us a lot of things, and I am gonna like dissect everyone. So
Yeah,
I
sure.
think so. You said you moved from Medium to Substack, and you took some time to figure things out. What is so special about Substack that makes it stand out from other platforms, like let's say a Medium or Twitter X or whatever, Facebook or LinkedIn? What is the unique feature that think makes Substack stands out when compared to other platforms?
Yeah. So if I say the negative thing first and then I'll move to the positive. So the negative thing that everybody says, certainly the people I help, is it's so complicated that you come on and you just like, what's profile and a publication and what's a chat and a note and a post, and people get baffled and confused. Whereas on all the other platforms, you just post,
Yeah,
whatever it might be, etc.
yeah.
Um, but once you get over the confusion and work out how it works, for me, it's got this kind of built-in ability to help you grow.
Mm,
Because it all links together. Your posts links to your notes, which links to your chat, which links to like Substack Live, and there's lots of features that mean that it wants to support you to grow.
mm,
Um, I mean, I remember when I was first on, I was trying on Twitter in the early days, and I had a newsletter on Kit, but like Twitter doesn't want you to share links to something else, so you've got to like do clever ways around it, because one platform's fighting against another, and it's all like complicated. Whereas with a Substack, they want you to do lives and to do notes and to do posts, and so it's got this kind of lovely opportunity of things connecting. If you want to send DMs, you can. You can't send DMs on Medium. If you want to send a message on chat just to your subscribers, it's got all these kind of features that you have a look at. I mean, you don't have to use them all. You look at them and decide, right, which ones work for what am I trying to achieve with my writers and my readers, etc. So often when I do something like this, I'll get maybe a couple of questions where people have just DM'd me, they've just messaged me, and Substack kind of allows that. Where other platforms, they're quite narrow and they resist you going kind of onto other opportunity. So for me, it's like how they all work together. And once you've worked it out, it's hard in the first place because it's very complicated. But once you work out and get a little nice system, it's got like this inbuilt kind of growth system almost, which I think is really lovely because you can share your content, your deep thought through posts, but then Substack will help you find people for that rather than just like a blog site and it just sits there and you just hoping for Google to send somebody there. So I think that's the biggest beauty of it.
So, looking at your profile, you have 4.4 subscribers. How many of them are paid subscribers?
So I just hit 100 paid subscribers yesterday
Oh wow!
on Substack. And so probably for 6 months, it was I had no interest in paid subscribers, really. It wasn't something about it. It's not really a main thing of mine. I make money really through digital products and live cohorts and stuff. But I do, yeah, I've been experimenting a little bit with paid subscribers and how you do that. But yeah, I think paid subscribers is a kind of interesting tool on Substack. I think that it's a bit misleading where some people get focused on it. I think there's other opportunities that are better if you want to kind of make money, but it is quite easy because you just click it on, don't you? And but yeah, I've tried lots of things probably over the last 6 months to kind of work out, what's the paid subscription thing about on Substack and what works and what doesn't, and how can you use it in a way that you're making money that's good for your time. Because if people are just paying a small amount, and some people you can't like give away masses of resources for that, because otherwise you're not really making money for your time. So I think there's a lot of thoughts to be done around that. Yeah. So I mean, where I've landed with it is that my free content is helpful information for people. They'll get loads of tips, probably 2 a week. I'll send posts out with lots of tips and advice and that sort of stuff. And then what I do for my paid subs, once a week on a Monday, they'll get a tool. They'll get something very useful, practical, that's working for me right now. And I'll give them templates. I'll say, right, you can use this for your headlines or your notes or your an AI prompt or an outline. I mean, I give a different one each week. I just look at what's worked really well for me in the last couple of months, and I turn it into a tool and give it to my paid subscribers. So they just take that and use it. So my free subscribers get like the information and the content and the tips, and then my paid subs will get a practical tool they can go and use, as it were. So that's kind of where I've landed at the moment in terms of how I separate the two. And probably most of my paid subs have come in the last 2 months, I think.
I like how you frame the Substack experience is by selling digital products and the focus on that rather on the paid subscribers, because other creators kind of push the paid subscriber path while you have kind of a different approach. So for me, what are the digital products that you're selling and what platform are you using to sell them and promote them?
Yeah. So, I mean, where I host all my products is on Thrivecart.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I host my digital products.
Okay. I know Thrivecart. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I host them because it's much cheaper than all the other options, really. That's why I went down that route, as it were. And I tend to create a new one every couple of months. I mean, I've got a live cohort starting on Monday called the Substack Growth Map. So that's going to be 6 sessions over 6 weeks where we will meet on Zoom and I'll talk them through the system that I've used to gain 4,500 subscribers. And then alongside that, they can buy an extra product, which is the digital, what have I called it? The complete Substack toolkit, so to give them loads of tools, etc. And so I'm always like creating resources and tools, and I get too many ideas. That's the problem. And I'm experimenting with stuff all the time, and then I'll learn stuff and I think, right, this is really useful. I'll turn that into a product and help people. So I've got like all sorts of stuff that's kind of creating and offering to people.
What is your most selling product? What's the most popular one?
Yeah, so the one that was most popular, so I launched that last summer, I think it was, and it was called my Resource Bank. And all my other products, I took lots of strategy and consultation and thinking about, and my Resource Bank was the one I put like least effort into thinking about, and it's been my most successful. And I was sat in the garden one day, and I was like, I had just this thought popped into my head that I had like all these templates and I had all these tools that I was using for my writing that I developed over the last year, to help me write introductions, to help me get ideas, to help me outline a port. There's all sorts of things, and they're all on my computer that I was using. And I was sat in my garden. It was a really nice sunny day, and I was just like, I wonder like if anybody would want them. They're on my computer. I wonder if anybody would want them. And now I was like, I would want them. If I was new writer, I would want that because it makes it faster. And if someone's used it, and then I was just like, I might see if anybody wants them. And I just thought that's my resource bank, and I just put it all into a database on Thrivecart, and then said, does anybody want it? And every month people buy that, and that was a big learning point for me, really, because it was like, actually, people don't always want lots of more fancy tips. They want something they can use, And if you've so I've written like 600 articles in the last couple of years on Medium and Substack, like 1,000-word articles, and from that I've like learned lots and had to learn how to do all sorts of things. And so it's like, actually, people who are only done 10, they wouldn't mind shortcutting the learning and just get your headline templates or your posts or your hooks or whatever. And so that was a big learning point for me, that actually people, anything that you've learned and you're using, for people watching this, whatever their thing is, if it's to lose weight or exercise or conquer anxiety, and if they've got little tools and frameworks and things that they've used to solve their problem, actually, people would buy that off you. You know what I mean? Because you've just naturally, but you aren't always aware of what you've developed. They're just little functional things. And so that was like a massive learning point for me to think, actually, yeah, we've all got treasures that we're using to solve problems for ourselves. And other people with that problem would love the 4 Ps or the little checklist you use or the journal prompts or the whatever they might be. People would just pay for them because they've solved your problem. So that was like a big learning point. And I guess my Substack paid tier, that kind of, when I was struggling to know what to do with that and what I was doing wasn't working. And then I remembered the resource bank and I was like, actually, people just want what works, and they're busy, they've got stuff on, and they just want something in their hand that they can use today to create a hook or a headline or whatever. And so that was a big learning point for me.
Hmm. That's very interesting. Can you give us a sneak peek of the the tools that you're using, like 1 or 2 tools that you recommend?
Do you mean like that I send to my paid subs and what's in like the resource bank and stuff like that?
No, yeah, the resource bank, like maybe 1 or 2 tools. So just a sneak peek. You don't have to
Yeah, I mean,
ruin the plot.
yeah, no, there's lots in there. I mean, one of the things would be like 15 of the templates I use for headlines.
Oh, okay.
I'd have 15 templates. So when I'm creating a new headline, I'll look at my templates rather than like thinking from scratch, or I'd paste those templates into ChatGPT sometimes. And then I would be like thinking about what's the first sentence of your post that's going to grab attention? Because one of the things I learned on Medium has this stat called the read ratio, which is all about people click on your stuff, but how many read it all the way through. So Medium tells you, and from Medium, you realize that sometimes like half the people don't get past your first paragraph. And you've got to have like your first sentence which just grabs their attention. So then I was like, well, what would a first sentence look like? And then I came up with like 5 different ways of writing the first sentence, like a question, a stat, a strong statement, etc. And I would write those down and explain them, so whenever I'm writing the first sentence, I'd look at my list and think, right, which one should I do as a kind of prompt, rather than just be like, right, it needs to be a good first sentence. What might it be? So just stuff like that would just shortcut the process, because you just look at your list and you're like, oh yeah, I need a good question. This is what I'm going to ask. Or I need a strong, controversial statement. Right. And then you think of one. So, stuff. So yeah, so there'd be all things like that I would have learned. How do you tell a story? When I used to tell stories at the beginning, they were really long and waffly. And I realized I could tell from the Medium stats that people were not reading them. So I was like, right, stories are important, but how do you tell them very crisp, very focused, so people are really engaged with it, but they stay with you? And so I got a little checklist of like, actually, that's how you write a story in a written context where you want it to be short. So whenever that come up, I'd just pull out my checklist and think, right, I need to do this, this, this. And so I would just have loads of things like that lying around, and thought, actually, I should probably put them together for other people.
Do you, is your ultimate goal is to go full time on Substack and kind of maybe stop doing other jobs and just go full time and actually make a living from writing on Substack?
Well, it was interesting. So January this year, so since I started writing and not made any the first few months, and gradually my income would go up every month, and I would launch products and coach people, and I would be in disbelief all the time that I would even make money writing, and it'd get bigger and bigger. And then January this year, I hit like about, I think something like over $8,000 I made it that month. Yeah.
In 1 month?
And,
oh, wow.
yeah, in the month. And then I was like, right, this is like proper money now, isn't it? And I'd start to get the point of, actually, this is real, it's not just a fluky month, but it's just building up. And so I had that question to myself. I was like, well, I could I could just live off this. Plus also you could become a 6-figure creator and have that on your title and all that. And so February, I was like, I was in that lane a little bit, and then I remember thinking like, but actually, what do I want? Is that what I want? I'm just getting carried along with this. And there's parts of my job that I really like doing, and so I was like, actually, I like doing that stuff. At that time, I had other bits I didn't want to do. And I was like, oh, if only I could get rid of that stuff, that'd be really good. And so at the moment, I'm wanting to do what I want to do, which is there's bits of my job I really like. And I really like coaching people, and I really like live cohorts and helping people. And so at the moment, I'm just doing that and kind of enjoying it. And if my job goes like, hopefully my boss doesn't watch this, but if my job goes a bit pear-shaped, you know, it means, oh, I might just do more writing and make more money that way. I've got the kind of flexibility. So I'm just pretty relaxed and enjoying it and see where we go, really.
That's fun. Okay, I want to ask about marketing in general. And when it comes to live cohorts, I've heard from many people, and me included, it's really hard to get subscribers to sign up for live cohorts. Have you faced this problem? And if you haven't, again, what's your marketing strategy?
Um, so, I mean, for me, so for live cohorts tend to be priced of much higher than my digital products. So then I need less people to buy them, you know,
Yes.
sign up to make it worthwhile. So for me, my live cohorts, they do pretty. I've only started them this year. You
Okay.
know, last year was just standalone digital products only, and but I've done 3 live cohorts. I did 2 on creating a digital product, teach
Okay.
people to do that, and then this one is just on Substack and how to grow on Substack. But so mine do pretty. I'm pretty happy with them. You know, the numbers who sign up and what they pay. They're a decent source of income, and it's something I really enjoy doing. So it's not something I've struggled to get people to sign up for. I mean, I probably get like 15, 20 maybe. I've got 15 signed up for Monday, and I've still got a week's of promotion to do. So that's I'm happy with that sort of number. You know, that makes it pretty good for me. So
What's the
yeah,
what's the title of your cohort? How to
sorry.
do? What's the title of your cohort? That on Monday?
Monday is the Substack growth map.
Okay. And is Substack your only marketing avenue? Do you use like paid ads, like paid Facebook, or how do you market it? Because what happens is, yeah, we have followers, but followers do not necessarily pay the bills, you know, so they have people like and whatever and retweet or repost, but those who actually sign, it's usually way less. So what is your marketing platform?
Yeah. So my strategy since the start, and I was taught this when I knew nothing, and I just listened to other people like Nicholas Cole or whatever like that. And my strategy from the start was to build an email list on Kit. So I started that after about 7 or 8 months. I started an email list on Kit, and I sell to my Kit list. So my email list on Kit, that's who I sell products to. And then
Mm.
I was on Medium to get people onto my Kit list. And I've tried like LinkedIn and Twitter, but really it was Medium, and now it's like Substack, Notes, and that sort of stuff. And I would use that to get people onto my list, but I would only sell to my list and through affiliates a little bit as well. But I wouldn't do ads or on Facebook or anything like that. It would be the people who've been getting my free content and they see what I can produce, and they see the sort of person I am and how I share stuff. And then that's the people I invite to come onto my courses and products and that sort of stuff. So I've got about 9,500 subscribers on Kit.
So do you manually add the people who subscribe to Substack to Kit? Or is there like an
Yeah,
automated way?
yeah. Once a month, I add my new subscribers that month from Substack, add to my Kit list, and then they will get an email saying, my Kit list is called the compelling writer, and Substack's the irresistible writer.
Okay.
So I'll say, oh, I've added you to my sister publication. If you're not interested, you can unsubscribe. So yeah, once a month, beginning of the month, I just add all the new ones to that. And I mean, I'm occasionally on LinkedIn and Medium, and I have lead magnets. That's really how I do it. That's how I get people onto my list, really, outside of Substack. And yeah, that's kind of how I do it.
Hmm. That's an interesting strategy. Is there any like a code that you can add that can add this like automated, like whatever those things, like Zapier code, because it's very time consuming to keep adding everyone to manually, correct? Unless you have like a virtual assistant or someone.
No, it probably takes me like 4 minutes.
Oh wow, you're fast. Because I do the same and I just hate it because it's like I have to add and yeah, but how
But
is
just you press a button to export them from Substack, then you get a spreadsheet list, and then I just add that list to Kit, and that's done.
but when you export the list, it exports all the list. It does not export the last few.
No, you can filter it on Substack. You filter it to the last 30 days.
Ah, I see. I see.
And then I go to export that, and then I add that. So it only takes me a couple of minutes. You can do automations through Zapier. Some people do that, but because it takes me a couple of minutes, then I just do that.
Hmm.
And the main thing is, so when we come back to selling and marketing, I will send a lot of emails. Like for the Substack growth map, I will have a waiting list, people who've opted in to hear about it of my kit list, and they will get probably about 10 emails over 2 weeks about it.
Mm.
They'll get a lot of information and a lot of explanation to it, which you can't do on Substack. You just tell them once perhaps. And I found that focused information, selling marketing is the way to really get people to buy in. If I send 1 or 2 emails, nobody will buy my stuff. 1 or 2 mentions, I've got to like explain it and answer questions and provide socials proof and tell stories and give them a little peek inside it and explain how it's helped me. There's lots of things I've got to explain to people, which I do, to the people who are interested, and that's how I get my sales, and that's why I have Kit, not just Substack, because it helps you do all that stuff with automations and sequencing and all that sort of stuff.
It's interesting. I'm stealing I'm stealing all your ideas. But remember, we all steal like an artist. You know that book. Um,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, since you're a big reader. Okay, so I'm just going into the weeds here. So, what is the difference between the content that you send on your Substack list versus the content that you send to your Kit list, and what is your cadence for each publication?
Yeah, so my Kit list, they get an email every Wednesday. Once a week, they'll get an email, which is really about helping them. So there'll be some content, some advice, some tips, some stories or whatever. And I've done that since I started that list. And the reason that continues is because that predates Substack. So they're not all Substackers on there. So it's about building an audience and writing and making money. So they'll get once a week. And then Substack will get 3 posts twice a week. And the only difference between those two probably is my Kit newsletter on a Wednesday tends to be a bit shorter. And that because that only goes to my list, whereas on Substack, when you write a post, that goes to your list. But then also when you share it on Notes, that might reach a wider audience. So that tends to be a bit longer. And I don't assume that they know anything about me because it might be a new person clicking on it on Notes. So that might have a stronger introduction and be a bit longer. But so if I got an idea for an article, and like I was writing one about curiosity and how you raise people's curiosity through your article. Now I've got an idea. I'm going to write about that. That could go in Kit or it could go in Substack. It could go either way. Do you know what I mean? And if it goes in Kit, it's a bit shorter for me. Substack, it'll be a bit longer if it's a post. But apart from that, there's not a lot of difference.
Do you move people from Kit to Substack?
No.
Why?
Because I'm the end of my journey for people is Kit. Like that's why I'm trying to get everybody to Kit.
I see.
They're going to buy a product. That's like where we're going with this. Do you know what I mean? So if they're on Kit, I don't want to send them backwards and give them more content necessarily. Because particularly for Substack, because they might not be on Substack, they might not be interested in Substack. So I don't send it that way. I just send it towards Kit. Because I think it's important for people when you've got like, same for like notes and chat and posts, you got to understand what you want your reader's journey to be. So I see like on people's homepage on Substack, for example, they've got on the menu, they might have chat or they might have their notes as an option. And it's like, what is the reader's journey? For me, notes is about discovery. And once they find me on notes, I want them to be pointed towards my post. I want them to be pointed to my homepage to see the other things that I offer. But I don't want them to send back to my notes because that's sending them like backwards. Do you know what I mean? So you don't want it to be circular. You want
Okay.
to be clear on what your journey is. So for me, yeah, the journey from Substack is to Kit, and then to Kit is to Thrivecart and my products and that sort of thing.
Oh, wow. So you have like the top of the funnel, whatever it's
Yeah.
the top of the funnel is notes,
Yeah.
and then Substack, and then Kit, and then digital product. And so if you send Kit every Wednesday, how often do you have a cadence for Substack?
Substack is twice a week. They'll get a free post, and once a week a paid post.
And there's no like kind of redundancy between the two?
Redundancy? What do you mean? Like the same content?
Correct.
No, it's different.
So you're actually sending 3 newsletters a week.
Plus a tool, yeah.
Oh, wow. Plus a tool for the paid subscribers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of that's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see. I see. Yeah.
I've got 600 articles on Medium.
600 articles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do stick some of my Substack stuff I stick on Medium now, but I don't write new stuff on Medium. I mean, Medium, I used to write a new thing every day on there, you know. But so I've got like the history of a lot of articles and lots of like ideas, and yeah, I'm always like I'm always learning new things and having new ideas, and just reading new books. I just dump it in a post, you know.
Wow, that's actually very inspiring. And I'm curious about your mindset and your productivity technique. Because it's like a superpower you have. And how did you train your mindset to actually be that disciplined and to be that productive? Like, what are your tips? Like, do you work out to increase the level of endorphins so that you can be happy? Do you have like a clean desk? Like, I want to just get into the actual practical tools that made you such a writing machine.
I've always been quite obsessed with productivity, even in my work life, and I would be always thinking and reading the latest book and thinking, how can I use that? So I have tried lots of things over the time that would kind of help me, which is where a lot of those tools come from that we talked about earlier on. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, right, how do I do this? I want to find out a way, and then I'll write it up, So yes, I'm always kind of learning how to do something. I'm always curious, and it gives me a lot of energy to get a new idea and to try it out. And then when I've tried it out, actually, I just get to tell other people about it, So a lot of my early stuff would be like, this is how I've written an article every week for 30 days. I'll work 9 to 5, and I'll just explain people how I did it. So you find that it's this like flywheel. So I read something and I get an idea and I try the idea out and it works. But then actually I've just created some content for myself, haven't I? So as well as it helping me, then I just tell people about that. And now I'm just trained to just share whatever I'm doing. So a lot of my tools are quite easy to do because I'll just look at my notes from last month or my titles or my articles and think, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. I'll just share that with other people and I'll turn it into a tool for them. So yeah. So like walking, I started walking probably about 4 to 6 months ago. I read a book called Rest and some stuff by Cal Newport, and it was all about this idea of a lot of the great productivity people historically did lots of walks.
Yeah.
And so now, so I added that to my rhythm. So I'll probably write for about 90 minutes and 2 hours when I first get up, then I'll go for a walk, probably 40 minutes. And by the time I come back from the walk, I'll have 5 new ideas because like that's the way the brain works, it just relaxes, it enjoys things and it processes stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll write all those down and then I'll get to work with some more stuff and then I'll finish by lunchtime or whatever. And yeah, so it's just all kind of getting put in. Well,
So you mentioned Nicholas Cole quite a lot, and I'm a fan of his work as well. So I'm curious, who are the people that you try to emulate, the people that inspire you, the people that you try to steal from, and in addition to Nicholas Cole, who's the people that you religiously follow, you subscribe to their newsletter, you would never ever unsubscribe from their newsletter. Who are these people?
yeah, so I don't read as much Nicholas Cole. I mean, I was on one of his webinars last week, but I wouldn't read his stuff so much these days. But he would have been, I mean, I would have devoured all his stuff probably in the first year and like studied all his techniques and all that sort of stuff and picked all that up. Kieran Drew, probably somebody I look to a lot at the moment. So I read his stuff on Twitter in the early days, and now we're on Substack Note, then his short form and his sales stuff. So I bought some of his product. He's probably the right, I mean, I signed up to his newsletter in 2023 and I'm still reading it. He's probably the only one that I've done that with. So yeah, he's probably the big one that I would follow. And then other creators who are around, I just tend to observe what they're doing, and just whoever's got a lot of followers, I'll go and look at their stuff for a bit for kind of ideas or whatever. But probably Kieran Drew would be a big one I would follow at the moment. And then I tend to just read books really on topics I'm interested in.
Fascinating. So, what does the future hold for you? What are your big projects that you have in the pipeline? So, I know Monday is the cohort, and we'll just do a marketing plug here. People can just go to your Substack profile and sign up from there.
Yeah, if they go onto the homepage of Irresistible Writer, they'll find it on the menu, Substack Growth Cohort, and they can get to the link for that. But they need to be quick Monday. Okay. So yeah, what are my plans for I mean, I don't plan very far in advance. I'm probably only thinking of the next 3-4 months. And I mean, one of the things that happened is since I started, I've just come up with new ideas. I've created products, cohorts, tried stuff out. And probably the last 3 months, I've got to the point when I'm like, I just can't keep doing new ideas because I'm running out of time. So I'm trying to be a bit more, I'm trying to work out actually what is it I want to do and being a bit more efficient with what I create. And because you can't just have 3 products a week to sell. I'd be like, so cohorts is the new thing that I've been doing over the last 3-4 months. And I need to create some more digital products. And so I've got a couple of ideas on them. One's the visibility blueprint I'm thinking about, that people are struggling to get visibility. And it's like, how do you get seen? What are the qualities or the types of writing that get seen? And just been thinking about that a little bit. So I probably will end up doing a live cohort, then I'll create a digital product, then I'll do a live cohort, then a digital product, and just kind of alternate those two things. I think it's because I kind of probably prefer the live cohorts, but that's like you're limited with your time. Whereas when you create a product, my first product I created about 20 months ago, and someone just bought it yesterday, and it's like 20 months ago, and it's still paying me money. So if I create a new product today, it means like in 2 years' time, I'll still get $100 for it. So I want to kind of keep the products, and it helps because the products tend to be cheaper. They tend to be under $100 for people. So it's a bit more accessible for those who can't afford a cohort. So, yeah, I'm trying to get into a rhythm of kind of alternating those things.
Where do you host your cohorts?
I just run them on Zoom.
Okay. So you run them on Zoom. Okay. So people, you just send them like links and then they join like weekly sessions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So what about a website? Do you invest time in your website, or how does your website look like?
Yeah, I don't have a website.
You don't have a website. It's interesting. Do you think you don't need one, or you think Substack is enough?
I guess that, yeah, I mean, I don't really need one. I'm making good money without one. So I'll just kind of carry on regardless, like in a sense that if I ever want to put something somewhere, I do use my Substack homepage, the menu on the top. If I want to provide links for things, I can just put that there. And like you said, well, how do people get access? It's like, just go to my homepage on Substack. I've got a place where I can put stuff. So and my only public content, so my kit newsletter is not public. That just goes to my subscribers. But my Substack content is public. But then that's organized on my homepage of my Substack newsletter. So for me, that kind of works. Maybe one day I feel a need for it, but I don't really at the moment.
So how do people find your kit newsletter if you don't have a website?
They will find it. So most of my they'll find it either from LinkedIn or my Medium content or my Substack content. So they'll find it from my social media stuff.
Mm.
But actually, they won't directly come onto my kit newsletter. They will access one of my free lead magnets. So I've got various lead free courses and products. So they'll normally sign up for one of them, and then they'll end up on my kit newsletter from that.
What about SEO? Like if someone Googles Substack expert, like Substack growth expert, and when you have a website, supposedly it should improve your SEO and increase your rate of discovery.
I think that FOMO is really dangerous, and that like you can be like, oh, I should have SEO and I should be on Twitter and I should be on LinkedIn and I should be on this and I should be on Blue Sky and I should be on Threads. And for me, I just think actually it's important to just do one thing well. So the thing that I do well is Substack. And that is working because I got 800 plus subscribers last month. So it's like, I'm pretty happy with that, because if I take energy to learn SEO on Google and a website, then that's energy I'm not putting into notes and that sort of stuff. So I think that you experiment with what works, So I've tried LinkedIn, tried Twitter, tried Quora, but you should kind of do some experiments. But when you find one that fits, you should double down on that and just not worry about the other stuff, which is what I'm doing. And if Substack falls apart and stops working like Medium did, then you just find a new place and then you just double down on that. But I think trying to do lots of things, actually, you will end up not doing very, very many things well, So when people come to me and say, "Oh, I'm trying to grow on Substack notes," when I'm not writing on my LinkedIn and stuff, and I'm just like, actually pick one and learn to be good at it rather than bad at two, because actually it's really hard to succeed on one platform. There's quite a lot of nuances about it and kind of learning what works, etc., that you need to be quite focused, really. That's a superpower, I think.
True. Before we conclude, you mentioned that you're a big reader. And what is one book that, or, a couple of books that you would recommend to creators and writers? It doesn't have to be like the writing process or the writing technique, but it can be productivity, it can be mindset, something that really helped you in this kind of Substack growth game, if you want to call it.
That's a terrible question because I read so many books. Do you know what I mean? And
Sorry.
yeah, and somebody who's doesn't write about writing, but I find very stimulating is Adam Grant. So Adam Grant, things like originals and give and take, which are not directly about writing, but they're certainly about growth as an individual and personal growth. And I find that very stimulating. Because I used to read just about writing. Okay. And then it gets quite stale, doesn't it? So then you got to look at kind of other sources. And but like if I was saying to somebody to read one book on writing, it would be Nicholas Cole's book on writing. In business or online writing, I think it's called. If I was recommending one book on writing, that's the one I would say to people. But I like Cal Newport on productivity. I like reading his stuff and thinking about it in that sense as well.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Any last words you would like to say to us before we conclude about your cohort, where people can find you, your digital products, anything you'd like to say to conclude this wonderful and insightful interview?
I mean, I think that that anyone can grow online. It's like really possible for anyone to grow online, but you can't do it in a few weeks. You need to give yourself a year.
Mm,
And you need to give yourself a year of learning what works and experimenting. So pick a couple of experiments or things, an idea from a couple of people that you're going to put into practice, and then ignore the noise. Do that for a few months and then come up for air and pick a few other ideas, apply them for a few more months, and then come up for noise, and do that for 12 months. And then you'll find that you are somewhere. And sometimes that means buying courses from me or other people. The thing that really distresses me when someone buys a course off me and they say, I've just bought 2 of the courses off someone else, or they buy one of my courses and they've already bought the previous 3 and they haven't put any of that learning into practice yet. It's just like, buy one thing, put it into practice for 6 months, come up for air, pick another thing, because it takes a year to get anywhere, really. It doesn't take
mm,
weeks, it takes
yeah,
a year.
yeah.
You need to be walking in the same direction for a year. If you jump on from platform to platform or thing to thing, you're just going around in circles. So that's the thing I would kind of encourage. That's what I was taught when I first started on Medium. And I'm glad I got that, because I give myself a year of trying to learn before I kind of worried about the stats or growth or whatever.
Wow. So Derek, this has been wonderful, and we have actually live 58 people live, which is I think that's the biggest for me,
Okay, good.
which speaks for your popularity and the fact that you actually give insightful content. So thank you again for accepting my invite and sharing all your tips and tricks. I'm like now really pumped up and excited, and I'm gonna steal some of your strategies again.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Don't sue me, please. But and for anyone who watched it live, or for anyone who's gonna watch the replay, thank you so much for joining us today for Substack Live. And I will be running a number of Substack Live. Actually, I have another one today as well. And feel free to subscribe to Derek's Substack or my Substack. And until we meet again, thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.